Hi, today we'll analyze the question if Bitcoin is only for millionaires. See you in the next part. So, is Bitcoin just for millionaires? Stupid question, you would think, but I often get these questions. What if I can't afford to buy a Bitcoin, to buy a full Bitcoin right now? Because Bitcoin is so expensive, right? For a student, maybe for a high school student, it may be a huge investment. What can I do? Maybe I should buy something else and not Bitcoin. And most people don't realize that actually Bitcoin is divisible. You don't need to buy a full Bitcoin. Bitcoin is divisible to 8 decimal places. And the smallest unit of Bitcoin is called Satoshi. So 100 million Satoshis is 1 Bitcoin. And you don't really need to, you can invest to buy, you can buy, for example, 1 million Satoshis. So 1,000th part of a Bitcoin. You can do it, right? And in the future, probably the units that will be used will be Satoshis, not Bitcoins, because Bitcoin is just a too big amount of money. So only the smallest parts of Bitcoins will be used. Right now, already, at the time when I'm shooting this video, $1 costs 15,000 Satoshis. And with the time, the Bitcoin will go up probably. We'll see. Maybe they will go down and will go up in price. And maybe there will be times when $1 will be maybe 100 Satoshis or 20 Satoshis or something like that, right? So you really don't need to buy a full Bitcoin in order to start investing in Bitcoin or start playing or with Bitcoin. You can do with parts of Bitcoin. So it's in that respect, it's not really for the wealthiest people and so on. Everybody can do something with Bitcoin. So this is the first aspect. But the second aspect, and this is actually why I wanted to tell you this, is the following. Hardly anybody realizes how rare Bitcoin in reality is. There will be only 21 million Bitcoins in existence ever. So 21 million for 7 billion people. And when you think of that, how many people will be able to own at least 1 Bitcoin or more, purely mathematically, maximum 21 million people. But in reality, they are right now around 75% of all Bitcoin has been mined and is existence already, and they are only around 675,000 addresses with 1 Bitcoin or more. What does it mean? It means that when all Bitcoin is mined in many years, there will be maximum 1 million addresses with 1 Bitcoin or more, because the distribution isn't flat. So there are addresses with much more Bitcoin and there are addresses with much less Bitcoin. So 1 million addresses with 1 Bitcoin and more. But many people own more than 1 address. Some people own hundreds addresses, Bitcoin addresses. So you would argue there will be much less people than 1 million owning at least 1 Bitcoin. But on the other hand, there are people who own 100 addresses with less than 1 Bitcoin and they end up to 1 Bitcoin. So we can safely assume there will be globally between 1 and 2 million people who own 1 or more Bitcoin. And now realize how rare it is, because in the world right now there are 16 million millionaires. So people who can own 1 Bitcoin will be much more rare than millionaires in the world. And if we take the population of 7 billion in the world, 1 in 500 people is a millionaire, but only 1 in 5,000 people can own one Bitcoin. So in the future, when we assume that the Bitcoin will become the main reserve currency, or let's say the new gold or something, not even every millionaire will afford to own one Bitcoin. Only 1 in 10 millionaires will be able at all to own one Bitcoin. So it is probably a good idea, if you can afford it, to invest in at least one Bitcoin now, but because if Bitcoin becomes a world reserve currency or a new gold, this will be better than being a millionaire. It will probably imply being a millionaire, but not even every millionaire will be able to own one Bitcoin. This is not an investment advice. These are just my thoughts, and I want you just to realize how rare Bitcoin is and how you can use it to your advantage. So now I can answer your question. Is Bitcoin something only for millionaires? Right now, no. You can invest in Bitcoin in every amount of Bitcoin, in also smaller amounts. But if you can afford one Bitcoin, and don't put all your eggs in one basket, but if you can afford one Bitcoin, it can mean for you in the future to become really wealthy with that. Because people who can afford, who can own one Bitcoin will be really rare in the future. If you find it valuable, please subscribe, hit the ring button not to miss my videos. Share this video with your loved ones, with your friends. They will thank you for that. And I remind you of our ongoing competition. The best comment, the best share will get a copy of the book I have written with Brian Tracy. I encourage you to watch my other videos. I have some interesting videos on the topic of Bitcoin and also wealth, thinking of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. Here you will find some of my best videos. That's it. Thank you and see you.